Hello, welcome to another video. My channel was found by my niece, so I told her that it'd be kind of fun to do a video where she picks the books that I read. She just turned 13 years old and she loves to read. We talk about books every time we see each other. So I was like, okay, let me give you some prompts and you tell me what to read. 1, tell me your favorite book of all time. 2, tell me a book that you want to read that you haven't yet. And 3, I sent her a photo of everything on my physical TBR and I said, pick one book for me to read. I have that list. And I thought that I would read them in order from what I think I would like the least to the most. I should start by saying the book that she hasn't read yet, but she wants to. She said Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, which I've already read. So I said, give me another one. So she suggested Rival Darling by Alexandra Moody, which is a sports romance, a hockey romance. And I thought I would start with that one because I couldn't find it from the library and I have never used an Audible free trial, so I'm doing that. The reason I think I would like it the least is because I've read a few hockey romances now in the last couple of years. The first one was, oh my goodness, I'm totally blanking on what it's called. Icebreaker. I read Icebreaker when it came out, I feel like, and I really liked it. I liked it a lot more than a lot of people, I feel like. I don't know, I think it was hit or miss for a lot of people. I really liked it, and I've read a few hockey romances since then, and my feelings get worse every time, and I don't know if it's just because the novelty has worn off or if it's the writing. But let me tell you, I've already started this audiobook. I am, how many chapters in? Just finished chapter 4, but I'm really enjoying it. I think that the writing is really well done, and maybe it's because I went in with kind of low expectations. Our main character, Violet, has been told by her mom forever not to date a jock. Don't go for sports boys, because her dad was a famous football player who cut and run, and now her boyfriend, she's like, well, I met a hockey player and I really like him, and turns out he's not so good. So she is doubling down on that, and of course she meets his hockey rival, her ex-boyfriend's hockey rival, and he is kind of amazing. So their banter is really good already, which is really important to me. I also really like the narrators. There is 2 narrators, one for each part, which I always enjoy that more than one person doing both parts. And I'm really liking it. So I'll keep you updated on how the rest goes, but so far so good. Hi guys, let's do a book update. I apologize in advance if you can hear the dryer, because it is on right in the hallway. I have a friend. I finished Rival Darling a couple of days ago already, and I think I was very pleasantly surprised by this book. I think the biggest reason I feel that way is because the last hockey romance I read was Collide, and I did not like that book at all. And so I was like, okay, another hockey romance, I can do it. I know that Collide was kind of an outlier. I know I said my opinion of them is like slowly going down as I read them, but I still do know that Collide was an outlier. I don't even remember much about it, but I know that I absolutely did not like that book. So I went in with lower expectations, and I think that's a big reason why I really enjoyed this book. I will say it's the classic cliche of she doesn't date jocks, but ends up fake dating one, which I love fake dating, to make her ex jealous because it's his rival, and both of them spend the book thinking that the other person doesn't really like them. So in that sense, it is a little bit of an overdone premise in my opinion, but it was still done well. And I didn't dislike it. I did struggle with the high school gossipy stuff. I tried to convince myself that they were in university. The stuff they're talking about and just what they're going through and how serious they're taking this relationship, I'm gonna tell myself that they're in university. And then the gossipy stuff and some other things came to light, and I was like, okay, I can't do it. They are in high school. But then I reminded myself that I do like some like high school rom-coms, and what's the difference? Like, A Cinderella Story is one of my favorite high school rom-coms, and I will rewatch that all the time. So why can't I read a book that takes place in high school, you know? Also, they were seniors, like they could drive and they had jobs. I did have a couple of negatives that really bothered me. The term puck bunny, we used that growing up. I live in a town where hockey is popular, and puck bunny was a term that was used all the time. So I understand, but it was too often in this book, and it did get a little bit slut-shamey. So in that sense as well, I'm like, well, they were in high school. Of course it was. I was kind of grappling with that in my mind the whole time, back and forth, of like, stop using the term puck bunny. I hate it. And you are shaming these women more often for going after boys than for these boys for being players, you know? Goes both ways. And also, date. Whatever. Date in high school. You know? I don't know. Anyway, I did really like it. And I also really liked her Uncle Luke. I think he was a great parental figure. She was living with her uncle because her mom got a job in London. I think it's explained right at the beginning of the book. So she moved her from California to her uncle's in Minnesota. And Uncle Luke is great. He's a great character. He is the perfect role model, I think. And he's a teacher at their school, so he understands what's going on a little bit better than other parents would. But also that stuff about her mom, I think there wasn't enough resolution there. She's pretty let down by her mom, and it comes up a few times, and you never actually see her have a conversation with her mom once. And that is a bit weird to me, that how much it impacted her kept coming up, but we didn't actually have her confront her mom about it or tell her what's going on in her life. And I thought that was a little bit sad that there was no resolution there for how often their relationship was brought up. I was going to give it 3.5 stars, which is like classic romance rating for me. And then something happens in the last 20 minutes that is very Disney movie, and I couldn't see past it. And so it went down to 3 stars because of it. And I'm so sorry. I think in my mind I could pretend it never happened and keep it at 3.5 stars. But if I'm being honest, that was a 3-star event for me. I mean, that was a 1-star event. So the book was brought down to 3 stars just because of that one scene in the last 20 minutes. If you're not going to read the book and you're okay with it being spoiled, it's in every Goodreads review. You can go see what it is for yourself. Then when I was done that, I right away picked up my niece's next pick for me, which I sent her a photo of every book that I had on my TBR, and she chose The Naturals for me to read by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I was nervous going in. If you've watched my videos, I read The Inheritance Games on this channel, and I had a difficult relationship with those books. Because when I was reading them, I convinced myself that it was the writing. And I was like, I don't love any of these characters. I don't love the writing. I don't like the love triangle. Love triangle is my least favorite romance trope. I don't think I've ever read a love triangle and rated a book 5 stars. Never. Like, I hate them. If it's harmless and you're just dating, whatever, but it always goes into like cheating territory in my opinion, and I just cannot stand it. The Inheritance Games was a struggle for me. Just in general, I just didn't like it. So I struggled with The Inheritance Games. So I have been nervous to read this. I bought this before I finished that series because I didn't mind the first book. So I was like, let me just read The Naturals. The premise sounds way more interesting. And then I finished that series, and then I've been scared to pick this up ever since. So I'm glad that my niece is making me read this because I am maybe even already almost halfway through. I think chapter 20. I'm 150 pages in, and I am really enjoying this book. I'm really enjoying it. I will say I like that Jennifer Lynn Barnes writes strong female characters who are smart. But I think that was my problem with The Inheritance Games, is she was so smart, but she did some really stupid things. Cassie in this book, our main character, doesn't really do stupid things yet. She just is smart. There is a little bit of a love triangle that is just coming up. But it's not between brothers, and so far very innocent. I think I don't know much more about it yet. This is very Criminal Minds, okay? This is Cassie, young adult. Again, I think that she's graduated high school. I think she was working full-time, so that's better. I don't know how. Oh, 17. Maybe she just graduated. Someone shows up in the beginning of this book. Someone shows up at her job and leaves a card from the FBI and says, call us. And it turns out she is a natural. So she's a natural profiler. Think Criminal Minds, BAU. That is who contacted her. That branch of the FBI wants to know more about these kids who are natural at profiling people, whether it's, I think someone is natural with deception and knows when people are lying, and someone else can read their emotions, and someone else is statistics, and she is a profiler. Like, she kind of watches them and knows what they had for breakfast that day, kind of thing. Think of, if you've watched Criminal Minds or it's come up on your TikTok, there is the scene in the courtroom where he's like, I know what socks you're wearing.
Charcoal gray.
Well, look at that. He got one right.
You matched them to the color of your suit to appear taller. You also wear lifts, and you've had the soles of your shoes replaced. One might think you're frugal, but in fact you're having financial difficulties. You wear a fake Rolex because you've pawned the real one to pay your debts. My guess is to a bookie.
That is what Cassie does. At the beginning of the book, you learn that she's living with her grandmother because her mom was presumed murdered 5 years ago. She's like, I know I might not be able to find my mom's killer, but if I go work with the FBI, help them look into what I'm like, maybe I can find someone else who was killed. Help another little girl find her mom, because they have them looking at cold cases instead of live cases. Currently where I am, she is going through folders and folders and folders of cold cases, trying to learn how they profile, because the people teaching her took all of these courses to learn how to do it, and she's a natural at it, but there are still some things that she doesn't understand. And like, one of the main parts is that they say when you're getting into a serial killer's mind, use I or you, like pretend you're them or pretend you're talking to them, and it just makes you see all that much more about them, and it gets a little bit creepy already. Like, I'm really enjoying this book. I think that the writing is done really well. I like the mix of characters that she lives in this house with. So they moved her into a house with a bunch of other kids in Washington, D.C. The dynamics are very interesting. There's one character named Leah, who is the one who can tell when people are lying, but she's also a very good liar. I think I struggle with that character, but I think it's an important character to be in this book, and I think that they're going to be unlikely friends at the end. I like Cassie so far. I think she's a good main character, and it's just interesting. I love Criminal Minds, so it's kind of giving me that fix. So I'm really enjoying it. That is my update about that so far. Feeling very floating head today. I finished this book a few days ago, and alas, I keep thinking about it because it was fun. It's very fun, but it also is serious and caught me by surprise. I didn't see all the twists coming. Yeah, I was shocked at the end. I was shocked for the entire last act. It kept me guessing. I had to read a couple of the pages twice because I was like, wait, what's going on? How is this the truth? And then it all kind of comes together. And I will say, the Inheritance Games, one of my problems was that the end of every book where the big thing happens is like 2 pages and you're done and you're like, I read all this book for that. This one, it is the perfect length. The ending just carries on for the perfect amount of time, and I really, really appreciated that. I will say, I wish that there was more time established for Cassie at the house. Whether we read it or not, it could have been like a 3 months later thing. I think the biggest jump they had was 2 weeks. I just don't really believe the relationships that were built and the things that she learned based on the small amount of time that she was there. Maybe the ending couldn't have been the ending if she was there longer. I'm not sure. I'm still anti-love triangle. I just am. But this is done in a better way. I think I just don't love the idea where even if you have a relationship with one person, you kind of have someone on the back burner the whole time. It just kind of makes me feel icky. So I'm not into the love triangle aspect still, and I am curious to see what will happen with that. The romance is a small part, but it's big enough. It comes up often enough that it is kind of there always with her interactions with 2 people the whole time. But the crime stuff is the big seller. It's the fun part. I love the characterization. There was just enough of everybody in here. I think it was really well done. So I'm giving this 4 stars. I'm very surprised by that, and I'll be back very soon to you guys, but I think the next book is coming from the library and it's a few weeks away for me. I'm gonna read other things in the meantime, but I will be back with book number 3, my niece's favorite book of all time. I saved it for last because I thought it would be the best and because I had to wait for it. Pretty good track record so far. Good job, B. Hey guys, I'm having a day of bed rest, so not looking great, not feeling great, but I finally got my hands on my niece's favorite book of all time. The library was taking too long, and I actually found it from the bookstore for like $15. It's quite a cheap book. So, drum roll please. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, and I've already read part 1, so I thought it's time to talk about it before I continue, and since I'm going to be in bed all day, I'll probably do a lot of reading. I already understand why it's her favorite book. I'm really enjoying it. If you don't know about this book, which I would be surprised, I'm surprised I haven't read this yet, because I know that it was one of the biggest books of the year when it came out. If you happen to live under a rock like I do, and didn't know what this was about, we are following Pippa. She goes by Pip, which is not my favorite, but that's okay. We're following Pippa. She does a project for school, but 5 years ago there was a murder or a disappearance, and everyone blamed someone specific who then committed suicide. And Pippa is under the impression that it's all a lie. So she has some ideas about what happened, and it is a very sensitive subject, and she's doing interviews with people. It is covering some broad, important topics, which I actually really appreciate. One of those things is like a reporter who wrote a whole story about the murderer, but this reporter is racist and the murderer is not white. She pretty much called him out on his shit. It was so good. So I really like the language in this book. I just like the way things are said, and Pippa in general, she's super funny. She's super smart. She's kind of building this camaraderie with a character named Ravi, and he's trying to help her solve this case because neither of them think that it went the way that the police said it did. And she has this suspect list of her own, and like there's maps included of what the town looks like. So I am liking it a lot. I like that that it keeps bouncing between real life and third person versus her interviews and her notes and everything that she's writing about it in first person. I think that that's a really interesting way to do it. Someone in Fairview doesn't want Pip digging around for answers, so we've just gotten to the end of part 1, which has someone leaving her a note telling her not to dig for answers. It's adding a whole extra element of mystery because she's not just trying to solve this case, she's also maybe a potential next victim. I don't know. There's some nice dynamics with her friends. I love her parents. I think that they're wonderful. I'm really enjoying this. I'm gonna read as much as I can today. Hi guys, excuse my Sunday morning look. It is what it is. I'm still reading this book and I am kind of at a loss for words at the point I'm at right now. I would say I think there's like 350-ish pages, so I have just over 100 pages left and things are going down. This book is getting crazy. I am invested. I am sure I'm going to just keep reading and finish it this morning. I am scared for Pip. I think things are going crazy. Pip is kind of dropping the ball in all areas of her life except for this investigation, and I understand because she is actually finding things that are crazy. Shit's going down. I don't really know what else to say because it's one of those mystery books where I can't say too much because then I'm giving stuff away. Or I sound really stupid and I have to cut it because maybe I love a character who's bad. I don't know. You don't know who to trust in this book. I'm wary of a few characters in her close circle. I have been since she kind of started getting to the meat of the matter. I just don't trust anybody, but I don't know if that's just me with mystery books because I don't read a whole lot of them, so maybe it just is kind of the way I feel about all mystery books. I don't know. But I am really enjoying this book and I am about to devour it. So I will let you know my final thoughts when I get to the end. But right now, just know every few pages I am gasping. I will say there was just a part where she said that her dog's not allowed upstairs in her house. That's weird. Your dog should be allowed in your bedroom. Sorry if yours isn't, considering where my dog is right now. Anyway, I'm gonna keep going. Hi guys, Sunday afternoon version of Carla coming at you with a finished Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This was so good. I already texted my niece and I said, hey, I'm done reading the books you chose for me. Spoiler alert, you've great taste. Because this is her favorite book of all time and I get it. I rated this 5 stars. A couple of times through reading, I was like, oh, that brought my rating down. And then something happened like 2 pages later and I was like, oh, it's back because these things that I really disliked are so quickly resolved. Big win. I will say, Pip annoyed me at times. And then I realized she was just annoying because she was fulfilling parts of her character that I didn't like, but they were really realistic for who she was as a character. So I actually appreciate that I was like, oh, here's a character doing something annoying or dangerous or morally gray, but it also totally fits in line with her character. And I actually really appreciated that part because I don't think I want to 100% like every decision that a main character makes, and I didn't. But it was so in line with who she was. There were parts that got very Pretty Little Liars, like the first couple of seasons, and I actually thought that was really fun. It brought in that young adult feeling that I was enjoying from this book, and the writing was so good. One of the points where I thought my rating might go down is because I was crying, because the author does something unforgivable, I have to say. Then the conflict kind of brought me out of those feelings, and I really disliked it, but then 2 pages later it was resolved, and I was like, oh yeah, the conflict was people being human, which I have to be okay with. I have to accept that. I just don't prefer it. Sometimes it's like the easy way out, and then it resolved really nicely, actually. So every time I had a bad feeling about this book, I went against that bad feeling immediately because it was fixed. I am going to, I think, cut out my allusion to a guess that I made at one point when I was recapping earlier this morning, because it kind of is true, but I wasn't annoyed at being right because it just fit in a way that made sense. And sometimes it's okay to be right when it's still the correct way to write the book. But I was also wrong. So it's so funny. But the end of this book was so good. I was so invested. Zach was sitting beside me on the couch. I was crying for like the last 20 or 30 pages. This book is so good. So, you know, do yourself a favor and read it if you haven't yet. I didn't think I would like it. One, because I don't love mystery. Two, because I think young adult mystery, I was like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna like that. But now I want the next one. It's so good. This is 5 stars. So, B, good job. I will take your recommendations. And I'm gonna leave you here. And I will see everybody next week for another vlog. Bye.